On this episode, we want to give a shout out to Shelby Bottoms Nature Center and Park. We love this park. When we were deciding to do dad walks, we knew this was the park we wanted to go to. They've got lakes, they've got playgrounds, they've got baseball fields, they've got it all. You've got to check out Shelby Bottoms Nature Center and Park. Welcome to another episode of the Nashville Dads. This week, we have on Jeremy Carlson of the Everyday Dad podcast. We talk about why he started his podcast, his calling to fatherhood, and the joy of having older kids. We hope you enjoy.
I'll just go ahead and say, today's guest is Jeremy Carlson from Everyday Dad podcast. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Jeremy. It's kind of funny because you were a dad podcast before we were a podcast. So that's kind of funny. That feels funny. Like, I feel like we should just be asking you questions about how we can be a better podcast more than about your dad experiences. That's really...
Well, just talk to more dads. That's how you better about a podcast.
That's how you do it.
Yeah. Well, something before we get on to your actual podcast, I think you guys have a pretty cool story of what you do for a living and how you guys became this Everyday Dad podcast.
Yeah, so the Everyday Dad podcast, we've been around for about 2 years, and my co-host is a guy named Bob Gordon, and Bob and I both work in the faith entertainment industry. So that would be with faith-based films, inspirational films, and we have worked together for over 10 years.
That's awesome.
And Bob goes back to even the VeggieTales cartoon days. That's and fun. All of that kind of stuff. And I just was a youth pastor at a church here in town, and transitioned out of that into faith entertainment. And I've been able to work on about 35 films that have been released in theaters over the past, I guess it's 11 years now.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Can you name some of them?
Yeah, I've worked on I Can Only Imagine. I worked on, most recently, there was a movie that just came out called Jesus Revolution. I worked on that one. I worked on War Room. I worked on Breakthrough. It's been a ton. Last year I worked on 9 projects in 2022.
When you say work on them, what do you actually do for them? Do you do the promotion of them?
Yeah, so I work on the ministry side of things. We work with organizations and churches and how they can use the films as a tool. So specifically with what the theme of a movie is, I Can Only Imagine. The themes in that were fatherhood. The themes in that were forgiveness. So I worked on that film for 13 months before it hit theaters, and we worked to identify organizations that aligned with that mission. So if the idea is fatherhood, if the idea is forgiveness, we found organizations that their audience, that they already have built in, would want to hear about that film because they would already have a bent towards fatherhood or a bent towards supporting people that are going through forgiveness journeys and things like that. So we try not to put a square peg in a round hole. We try to find a mutually beneficial way to do grassroots marketing.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that movie took on a life of its own. I don't know if either you guys have seen it, but it was just, it's been seen in, I think, 150 countries around the world.
Wow.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
You got to be proud of that.
Yeah, it's especially when you work 13 months on something.
Yeah.
That year that I worked on that film, I traveled over 100 days
Seriously?
on the road, going different places. So when you get to that point, you got to be proud of it for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what inspired you guys to come together to make this podcast? Working together for 10 years or 8 years, I guess, at that time.
Yeah, so we came together to start the podcast. Honestly, I had been tossing around the idea of doing a podcast, and he's one of my closest friends. And so I just kept talking to him about it. I've got 3 daughters. They're 10, 10, and 8.
Oh, twins?
And, I've got twins.
Oh,
and so I'd been talking to him about, hey, I'm thinking about starting a girl dad podcast, all about being a dad with daughters. And then started talking about it, and months went by, and we kept talking more about it. And then I kind of shifted and said I didn't want to just talk about raising girls, even though that's all I knew, because I was like, that's a very, very small niche.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so he has grown kids. His kids have graduated college and are professionals. And so I have elementary age kids. He has kids that are in their late 20s.
Wow, so
and
two drastically different perspectives.
Yeah, and so I said, why don't we do it together? And so we just decided that we wanted to talk to a bunch of everyday dads because everybody is a dad every day.
Yep.
You don't have a choice about it. And so we just said we'd start it. And we spent about 6 months kind of once we identified that we wanted to do it together. So we started in 2019 with the idea of it. And then we actually launched it in 2020.
Awesome.
What's the so you started with twins. You went from no kids to twins.
Yeah, it's the best way to do it.
Was it? You
If
just
you're
jump
gonna-
right in. Just,
You don't know any better.
it's really efficient. You know, if you want to have a bigger family, it's the most efficient way to get a bigger family.
Yeah, my wife is a twin.
Oh, okay.
And so she
So it
had the
runs in
unique
the family.
perspective of what a twin is.
Yeah.
And when we found out we were having twins, we were like, okay. And when we had our third child, it was like, this is a piece of cake because there's
Yeah.
only one of them.
Yeah, pretty much. What's the age difference between your third kid and your twins?
22 months.
Oh my gosh.
So we had three under
Wow.
3. Yeah.
Ooh.
And you're still standing. Somehow you're still here.
Well, because they're 10 and 8 now.
Yeah, they're
so
now- yeah,
they,
that's right.
they
Yeah.
can handle whatever else they,
they
want to
can.
do.
Yeah, that's fair.
Man, that's what if Haley ever said we were having twins, I'd probably pass out.
When we had twins, there's all these statistics with medical stuff. Like if you're a twin, it's like only a 25% chance that you're going to have twins.
Okay.
But that's higher than just a regular person who's not a twin.
Yeah.
So then because we had twins, our percentage went to 50%. So the doctor was like, any subsequent pregnancy after this, you got a 50-50 shot of having more twins.
Oh man.
And so when we found out we were pregnant again, our thing was, oh, please help it to not be twins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we didn't want to go we really weren't even thinking about going to 3 at
Yeah.
that point. We got pregnant and it was like, please help it not to be twins. Like when we went to the first ultrasound, it was like, can you please look or
Just
look
please look-
around,
look
like
again.
make
Check
sure there's
again.
nothing else in there hiding.
Oh
And-
man.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why we have 3. And because I'm not willing to, I dodged the bullet once. I'm not willing to
Yeah.
go from 3 to 5.
Yeah, that would be. I'd be very daunting for me. I guess that's the word. I don't know, but
it's
oh
a
my
weird
goodness.
thing. Yeah, because it's like, oh, I could get through that. I feel tired thinking about
Yeah,
that.
I commend you guys both because you both have 3 people.
Yeah, my two
Or
oldest
3 kids.
Yes, my oldest are 23 months apart, so I can relate a little bit of what that was like, but not really because adding an extra child to the mix is still quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm third child of 4.
Okay.
And so my brother's only 11 months apart from me.
Okay.
So that's the whole Irish
Oh,
twin
Irish
thing.
twins, yeah.
And so when you have twins, everybody's like, oh, well, my next child is only 15 months apart, so I get what you do.
No, you
and I'm
don't.
like, no, you
No, you
don't.
don't.
You weren't dealing with a 3-week-old with 2 of them.
No.
You weren't dealing with every time you had to feed a child, having to feed another child.
Yep.
The exact same thing, the exact same development. My kids took their first steps 5 minutes apart.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yeah, they rolled over the same evening. Like they are as opposite as you can get. One of them looks like me, one looks like my wife.
Yeah.
But
That's
they
great.
experienced everything so much in line that it's like it's you can't do anything different with it.
Are they competitive with each other? Or are they?
They are night and day different. I
Okay,
have
so-
my
yeah.
oldest is type A,
Yeah.
competitive. She wants to win at everything she is doing. If it's putting the dishes away, she wants to beat you at putting
Yes.
the dishes away.
Yeah.
My next one is more creative.
Okay.
And so she is competitive when the older sister pulls her up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, she'd much rather do an art project than try to beat you in a foot race. So she just gets her competitiveness just because I think everybody has a little bit of
Oh, they
competitive
do.
in us.
Yeah.
And it comes out in competition.
Yes.
And so, but she's not wound that way.
Yeah. I'm not much of a competitive person unless it's about things that don't matter. So if like we're talking about sports and like a sports statistic, I'll die on a hill. But if you're like, do you want to play basketball? I'll be like, meh, I guess. So everyone has their different competitive energy. I agree.
I would love to see you play basketball, Devin.
So I'm from Southern Indiana. I was 6 foot by the time I was in 8th grade. So I was just a center because this is what you do when you're like, whenever you're like this tall already at that age, you just put your hands up and get in the way. So that's kind of how I know how to play basketball. I have no foot skills. I have no hand-eye coordination, but I could probably get in the way and annoy you a lot. That's basically what I would do.
Hey,
It's what I do in real life also.
no. So you and Bob have been doing this for 2 years. What kind of guests do you have on this podcast? of
We
yours?
have a lot of people that try to equip dads through the religious lens. So a lot of them, Bob and I are both believers. We're Christians. And so when we started the podcast, we wanted to interview more people that either shared that worldview or were interested in wanting to learn more to try to help dads. We call it the Everyday Dad Podcast because we want to interview just everyday dads.
Yeah.
Some of them lead organizations and are authors and that kind of stuff. Some of them are just guys like you that we got. Our only prerequisite is you have to be a dad.
Yeah.
We've had some like doctors that are like female that write stuff about fatherhood. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you're not equipped to do this. And because you're not a dad.
Yeah,
like,
it's in the title.
Yeah.
We've had
specifically.
We've had one non-dad, but he talked about how his dad inspired him.
Yeah.
So that
Because technically we're the Nashville Dads. So if you talk about a dad in Nashville, I think you fall into our umbrella of being. It depends on how legalistic we want to get it with our, our podcast.
There's one guest that I want to have on our podcast. He's a professional football player now, and he did not have a dad growing up.
Okay.
He had 5 dads growing up because his dad was not involved in his life, and I was one of the 5 people that his mom tapped on the shoulder and said, I need your help.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so I want to have him on the podcast and just talk about what is it like growing up when you didn't have, because he'll tell you, he's like, oh, I didn't have a dad. I had a bunch of dads.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of guys. Because part of what you, as a dad, especially to a son, an athletic son, like sometimes you need to get a good kick in the rear. He had a bunch of us that were in line to make sure he was walking the straight line and performing at a certain level and just being an all-around good person.
Yeah.
So I want to have him on, but I haven't. It's when you're an NFL player, your schedule's a little busier.
A little busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
you sound like the youth pastor the youth pastor intern that we had living with us when my dad was living in Florida.
Oh yeah.
He would make sure that I was in line.
And we weren't too hard on him.
No,
but
it's just some
he
parameters,
wasn't.
though.
He wasn't either, and we should have him on the podcast because he is a dad as well.
But is he in Nashville?
He is not.
No,
That is true.
sorry.
Never mind.
We just
All right.
established the parameters
Sorry
of
about
this
that.
podcast.
So-
You cannot
but-
go against
So, like,
it.
how far out do you go?
Ooh,
Like,
we've done
ooh.
Murfreesboro. Murfreesboro
Okay.
is the farthest out we can
he
go.
lives
I
in
think.
he lives in Lexington, Kentucky. But
Also, we can't do anything with Lexington, Kentucky.
I know
So-
that's
Indiana,
that's
I
a
see.
great basketball town, though. I
To
will
some.
tell you,
To some.
I'm a UK fan.
Yes.
But
How do you guys get along?
We
then?
don't. We just don't. There's one area of our life we don't discuss.
yes,
And
it's
it is
basketball.
I think it's a game that happened in Bloomington. Was it in
Oh,
2012
shush.
or so? I think maybe Christian Watford was it.
Well, not only that, but his wife is a Kansas fan.
Yeah.
So, like, the both of
know.
them, I cannot speak anything
For the month
basketball.
of March, we just try not to talk.
Yep.
It's like a family dinner where you don't discuss politics. That's basically
I
what
love
it's
it.
like.
But,
Anyway, back to
all
your
right. Well, back to my story. So my dad had to go down to Florida because of 9/11. He had to take over somebody that was going to Iraq. And part of my junior and basically all of my senior year, my dad was gone. So my mom had a church intern live with us and almost kind of be the father figure for
Yeah.
me. And he kept me in line, let me know that it was cool to be a Christian, because around that time I was having a lot of doubts. And yeah, if I was cussing or said something that was stupid or out of line, knock me on the head.
Say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, I was I think less quick to cast judgment, less quick to say stupid things that were coming out of my mouth,
Mhm.
and then also not cussing as much as I used to, like I sailor. So it was a pretty cool experience. So I need to reach out to him now that
Yeah,
we're
you
talking
should
about
reach out
this.
to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever miss being a youth pastor?
I did it for 10 years here
okay.
here in Nashville.
Yeah.
I miss certain aspects of it.
Yeah.
It was working at a church has its own unique. Everybody's like, "Oh, it'd be great." Like they think you only work on Sundays and they don't know any of the other side of it.
Yeah.
I miss the relationship side of things. I'm a relational person.
Cool.
That is how I was created.
Yeah.
And so I miss getting to be involved in students' lives that way.
Yeah.
But I find other outlets to, I coach softball. I coach,
Nice.
I'm involved in other people's lives that way.
Yeah.
I don't miss some of the politics behind it.
Of course.
I worked at a large church, so it had its own unique set of challenges.
Of course.
But my thing was when I made the shift from working full-time at a church to working in faith entertainment was when I worked at a church, I could influence 120 kids every single week. Now I could influence millions of people around the world.
Yeah.
So the megaphone just got a little bigger.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Say a lot bigger.
Just a bit.
But Jeremy, what guests blew your mind, or what like you were so excited to talk to on your guys' podcast?
We had a guest on. His name was Sherman Smith. He played in the NFL. And he has this crazy, crazy story. He actually from Indiana.
Oh, yes.
It's funny you say that.
I probably know.
And he played in the NFL. He coached in the NFL. And he came to us because he was in one of the movie projects that we worked in. It was a film called Show Me the Father. It's a documentary about fatherhood. And his story was highlighted in there. When he was young, when he was 18 years old, he got a woman pregnant, but he didn't know he got a woman pregnant. And so the story goes, and I'm going to do a really bad job. It's like 30 minutes in the movie that talks about the story. But when he was a coach at Indiana, and he formed a relationship with a player and formed a really good relationship with that player. That player didn't have a dad, didn't have a father figure in his life. And through a bunch of different circumstances, the player wanted to figure out who his dad was because he went on to play in the NFL and he wanted to figure, who's my dad? Like some people you really need to know that. And it was something that he needed to know. So he did a bunch of research and talked to his mom and figured out who the name of the person. She had even gone to another state to have him. So there was all this stuff, and it had been this big secretive thing. And he finally found out. And his coach at Indiana was his dad.
Oh, what?
What?
Yeah, ESPN did a story about it. It's Sherman Smith and Dylan McClendon.
Okay. Justin's Googling it right now, so he remembers his name.
It is an absolute.
cool.
There's like ESPN did a 30 for 30.
30 for
like,
30, yeah.
Or it was an E60 interview.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Back before they did 30 for 30s. And it was just this crazy thing of the guy that had poured into him and been a father figure to him was his actual
father?
dad.
Oh, my gosh.
And he didn't know. Sherman Smith did not know that he had a son. He didn't know because she had never told him.
Yeah.
They were never together. It was a 17-year-old's fooling around. And it was just the situation of then Sherman had to go to his wife and say, hey,
just so you know.
you know Dylan. Like,
Yeah.
you've been involved in his life, and he is actually my son. And he had to go to his kids and say, you've got a brother out there, and you guys know who he is because he's been that involved in our lives. So it is one of those stories that just blows your mind.
Yeah.
And it's these two gentlemen right here on the screen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sherman Smith and Dylan McClendon. And so we got to have Sherman Smith on the podcast.
Yeah.
Just the story of redemption that he shares,
Yeah.
how a decision you made when you were younger can go one way or the other. And he didn't feel shame for it, that it was just a matter of when Dylan called him and said, hey, did you ever get this person named this pregnant?
Yeah.
Did you ever have relations with her? And walk down that path. For them, nothing changed.
Yeah.
That you've been my dad. You've been the father figure to me I've always wanted. I didn't find out about you until I was 18 years old and started playing football for you.
Yeah.
That is so bizarre.
But now they have family gatherings together and all
Nice.
that. Sherman actually lives local here.
Does he
Oh, really?
He lives in Franklin. I should connect you guys.
Oh,
You
yeah.
guys
No,
would
we would love.
love
Yeah, we'd love to have
Yes.
him on.
to have
Yeah,
a conversation
totally, yeah.
with Sherman. He's just one of those guys that you
Yeah.
spend 30 minutes with. You're like, man, I'm a better person because
That's
of that.
sweet. Those are cool. What since you started a dad podcast, what does fatherhood mean to you? Like, clearly it must be something you care about and you take very seriously to be a dad and have a podcast about it. Why fatherhood? Why does it mean so much to you to start a podcast about it?
Because when you're a father, the seeds that you've planted, you have children. They're seeds, if you can affect them to be great human beings, to care about other people, to understand how to handle adversity, our world's going to be a better place in 15 years.
Yeah.
Like I've got 10-year-olds and 8-year-olds. Like 8 years from now, they're going to be going to college somewhere and so on. So if I can make them the best they possibly can be, and that's not who I want them to be, but who the best they can be by helping them, then man, what is this world going to look like and how much can they achieve because of that? I think dads also get a bad rap. That was another reason why we started doing it. Everybody, nothing against mothers. I've got an amazing wife. She is superwoman and handles everything. But so much in this culture talks about, oh, well, moms handle all of that stuff. For me, it's a matter of there's not a job that's my wife's.
Yeah.
Today, I picked my kids up at school.
Yeah.
And I went home and made dinner. And when my wife walked in the door, dinner was ready. And we all sat down and we had dinner as a family. And 30 minutes after that, I got in the truck and drove here to have a chat with you guys.
Yeah.
So we try to make dads understand that they can be empowered to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're never going to do everything perfect all the time. But we try to be a sounding board where you can hear about what other dads have struggled with. And then maybe you can go back to that when you're struggling with the same thing.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things, and I love it, in every single episode, we've done over 60 episodes at this point, the best dads are the dads that are intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being intentional looks very different for everyone. But when you're intentional about the way you're going to handle your kids, the way you're going to handle your wife. My kids are learning. I have daughters and I have a wife. So I have 4 women in my house. That is it. And they're learning by the way I treat my wife, the way they should expect a man to treat them.
Yep.
So if I can have a podcast that's going to encourage other dads to do things like that, to make sure they're serving their wife well, to make sure it's not an expectation of dinner better be ready, the house better be clean, my clothes better be folded, and put all of that on their wife.
Yeah.
They're like, I grew up with a dad that cooked most of the time, not because he loved it or because my mom was bad at it. It just, the culture of our life and schedules, it just worked. And I love to cook. So I cook the majority of the meals for my family. Like I do the grocery shopping.
Yeah.
I do all of that kind of stuff because it's a way that I can make sure I'm helping the family out. I can make sure that I'm helping my wife out. Like if she can sit down for an hour on the weekend instead of going grocery shopping, I'll go grocery shopping.
Yeah.
So
I usually think of it as like, how much mental space do I hope my wife to have? Because I'm a stay-at-home dad. My wife works full time. So yeah, like I do all the cooking and like grocery shopping and stuff, not just because I like it, because I'm like, if I can do this in a way in which this is no longer in your mental space, what other areas of your life can you be mentally present for? And how can I help you to be the version of yourself that you want to be? Because I also don't like saying like, you need to be the best version of you. I'm more like, is this who you actually want to be? How do we make sure you become who you want to be? And how can we work together to get you there? So same. I hope to do stuff for my wife in which she looks up and goes, oh, I can do this now because you've got this handled. And if it falls into a traditional hierarchy of what gender roles are, cool, whatever. Did it help my wife? Did it help my family? That's all I'm really here to do.
yeah, and I think that every family is different. Every couple is different with the way they are wired. But we try to, on the podcast, we just try to talk specifically about what have you learned? What can you do better? So one of the other topics that get brought up all the time is you can't be a dad alone.
Yeah.
Men, as we're wired very different than women. Women are all about community. They have their group of friends. They do group texts with all their friends.
Yep.
Men are not wired that way.
Yeah.
And so I always tell dads when I'm like, who's the guy that you're going to go talk to if you're struggling with something? If you have a bad day and you don't need to vent to your wife because that's going to feel like you're adding something else to her or putting another burden on her or something she's going to try to fix, who can you call? And when I hear dads talk about, well, I don't know who I can call or something like that, I'm like, you need to find that guy and tap him on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we are not made to walk through this without community. And we're not made to try to do it on our own. Like we can't.
Yep. That is part of the reason why we started our podcast as well, is there's so much out there for women and building community for them, but I saw a lack of resources or even podcasts talking about dads and how to be a better dad, how to support your wife. And there's so many articles out there that I'm seeing of you are your daughter's first impression for a man and how they should be treated or how they should portray their person that they are going to fall in love with and spend the rest of their time with. And there are so many people out there that don't have those dads. And I think that was one of the reasons why I started this podcast, or kept wanting to say that. Not only that, but because he has so many wise things that he talks about, having 3 kids and coming from that stay-at-home dad perspective that not that many dads have. It's not the norm for a dad to be a stay-at-home. But hey,
my wife is just better at career than me. That's really, I tried to make enough money for her to stay at home. She's just like, when you ask Heather to do something, she makes the whole process better. I do it and I'm kind of a smart aleck the entire time. So it doesn't really, she gets promotions. I get placated, I guess is the best way to put it.
I love it. The thing about it is with your podcast, with my podcast, like guys listen to podcasts, but they need to not feel guilty about listening to a podcast that's going to make them better.
Yeah.
Like guys will listen to leadership podcasts because they think it's going to make me better at work and make me be able to make more money to provide for my family better. But listening to a podcast like this, or even my podcast where you're talking to dads about how to be a better dad, man, it's not going to make you more money, but it's going to have you have a better marriage. It's going to have you have a better relationship with your kids. Your therapy bill is going to be less because you're a better dad.
Well, that's what I was. I think the last 2 episodes, I feel like this is therapy for me. I don't have to go to a therapist anymore. I just sit around with you guys and we chat, and this is my therapy.
Well, one of the good things about talking to other people or having community is it forces you to zoom out at all times, because it's really easy to be hyper-focused on whatever you've had happen to you that day or whatever you think is in front of you. And then you meet someone else and you're like, oh, I should just zoom out. Like there's so many other people in this world besides me. I should just focus on them. And then usually, at least for me, what day-to-day problems or issues I thought I had kind of minimalize. And then I come back to them and I'm like, why was I so worried about this? Everything's fine. Because you talk to someone and you connect and then you're like, oh, this world ain't bad. Here we go. It doesn't feel as claustrophobic, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. We can get very tunnel vision on what especially when you have kids, no matter if it's 1 kid or 5 kids or 20 kids, you are busy. When your kids get older, you get more busy because there's more activities and there's more things that go on. So when you can step out of that for a little bit and just kind of focus on helping yourself be a better dad, man, it's going to pay so many dividends.
Well, it is interesting because, I think our podcast is very conversational. Like, we aren't really offering dad advice. We're not like a parenting advice one. We're just like, we just meet up and hang out with dads. And it's interesting that, even just casual conversations and listening to them is something that dads are like, oh, someone does this? Like, I feel like on your podcast, you're also like, so what do you do for a living?
Yep.
And that's like half your content.
Yeah, even you guys I listened to an episode the other day where you guys had Ben from Creef Hall Bagel Company on.
Uh-huh.
He started a bagel company in the middle of a pandemic because he was home and didn't have a job, and his wife had a job.
Yeah.
And so what can I do to help provide for the family? Let's make bagels.
Let's make bagels.
And then I'll start delivering bagels at 6 a.m. to people's doorsteps.
Yep.
And now he has a brick and mortar bagel shop that I shop at.
Yep.
So it's that kind of stuff. What can you do to be the best you can for your family? I love it.
It's really hard. I think self-awareness is always the hardest thing to have, because you don't realize what ceiling you've put on yourself, and that's why you have community. Because, it's very easy to wake up in the morning and be like, I'm not going to start a business from my kitchen because I don't know where this leads. But hopefully someone else could be like, dude, you're actually really good at this. Like, you can do this, because you don't realize what walls you've hit sometimes, or how many times you've ran into that wall until someone else comes along and says, hey, you keep running into this wall. You don't need, you're okay. You can do this.
Yeah, being in community with other dads isn't just about them correcting you when you're being a jerk.
Yeah.
It's about them tapping you on the shoulder and being like, hey, you're doing really good at this.
Yeah. Supporting.
Being there to lift each other up, being there to just be a sounding board. Yeah. And it's later this week, I'm going to go sit at a Vanderbilt baseball game with another dad. He's been going through a tough time. His kids attend Covenant School.
Oh, okay.
And there's just been a lot that's going on with that community. And so I asked him the other night, I was like, you just want to go sit at a baseball game?
Just hang out.
And just hang out? talk about nothing, watch baseball. And he's like, yep, that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also dads need to understand that you probably shouldn't check out and go play golf every weekend.
Yeah, probably.
So people always ask me, like, what's your hobby? I'm like, I've got 3 kids. That is my hobby.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I coach both of my kids' softball teams. All 3 of them play. Like, I've got 12 girls on one team and 11 girls on another team that I am influencing with practice for hours and games and all that kind of stuff. And what sports can teach kids is, like we talked about basketball earlier, like what you can learn from sports will help you so much in life. Mm-hmm. So
do you wish, how's it feel to have girls and have to coach softball instead of baseball? Was that like a mental shift in your head?
You know, everybody, when I have 3 daughters, everybody is like, do you wish you had a son?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I had 2 girls, and then we tried to have a son, and we had another daughter.
And
like, so that's just what it is.
One trick pony.
Yeah, that's what we got. Yep. And so it is not any less fulfilling to me to coach softball than baseball. Yeah. I've never played softball. I played slow pitch softball when I was like younger in my 20s. Yeah. But it's different, but it's the same. Yeah. It's I coached soccer. I never played soccer growing up, but I coached it. Like I think that there's a lot that especially youth athletics can teach kids. I actually love when we lose because I think that you can learn a lot of lessons about about losing at something because life is not always going to be easy. Nope. But man, what does it feel like to win?
Yeah.
Like even my daughter, my oldest daughter, she's type A. She's ultra competitive. If you ask her what she wants to do when she grows up, it's be a professional softball player.
Oh, okay.
Like softball is her life right now. She's playing on 2 different teams. She's 10 years old, so she's playing on a 10U team. She's playing on a 12U team with a bunch of kids that are a foot taller than her because she just is all about softball.
Yeah.
And she was having a rough moment a couple nights ago, and she was like crying in her room, and I was like, hey, what's going on? And she was thinking back to the championship game last spring, and she got the last out when we were down one run, and she got tagged out between third and home, trying to steal home.
Oh, man.
That hurts to hear.
And the person that tagged her out is one of her closest friends.
Oh, yeah.
And who's the third base coach but Dad.
Yeah.
And so I'm the one that told her to go.
Yep.
She started going. I'm saying, go back, go back, go back. She didn't come back. Yep. And so she was like still beating herself up because, man, I made the last out. And I was like, yeah, that might have been the last out, but that's not the reason we lost the game.
It's not. There's so many other plays.
And so, but man, I love that it still stuck with her. Yeah. That it was impactful to her. Like, okay, what can I learn from that so I don't make that same mistake again? Mm-hmm. So
I'm really intrigued by like male initiation rites because I feel like most of them revolve around whenever you experience pain and you experience loss, who do you become? And your elders, your parents are supposed to coach you into knowing who you are whenever you aren't the best version of yourself and knowing that you're still worthy of love. Yeah. So I'm with you. Like, yeah, you did. Yes, that is what happened. You're still great. And there are things you can learn from this.
Yeah, I tell them.
Let's talk about it.
Before every single game, I don't care if we win or lose. I care that you try your best.
Correct, yeah.
Yep.
I care that if you make a mistake and you understand you made a mistake, that you learn from it. And we try to move on and we try to not make the same mistake again. Man, there's so many lessons you can learn from all that.
Yeah.
Even that's not sports related. Mm-hmm. Just think about it. I'm 42 years old. Like, I try not to make the same mistakes I did when I was 32 years old.
Yeah.
I really hope that Ada can play sports.
Yeah.
That is something that I would thoroughly enjoy coaching soccer, her softball, her even if she wants to play football because there's women football leagues out there now. But I remember coaching an AAU team for 11 or 12-year-olds, and it was so fulfilling, but I didn't have that emotional connection that I would with my daughter. So I think I'm really looking forward to that.
How old is she?
She's only 18 months.
Oh, you got plenty of time.
I think she's 19 months now, Justin.
Yes, that is true. I am so sorry.
See, we all need a dad to correct us when we say something our kid's age wrong.
His daughter is 5 days younger than my son.
Okay, so that's the only reason.
I'm pretty aware.
Thanks, Devin.
You're welcome. My kids do like ballet and gymnastics right now, so it's actually not entered into my head at all. Like, what if you coach them in a sport one day? I'm like, no, I can't coach ballet or gymnastics.
Well, it's not even just the coaching, but doing something like that, going to those events, even a play or a recital or something like that, just being able to go to those. I'm so looking forward to it.
I'm already trying to figure out, like, our oldest daughter has started to do a little bit of ballet, and I feel like she really enjoys it and likes it. I feel like our middle child could do, like, whenever she plays, she almost like gets in character so much that I'm like, if I can get you into theater, I feel like you would, like, the world would be opened up to you. And it is really cool when your kids start to get to an age where you start to realize, like, their personalities enough where you, like, can think of little challenges for them a little bit to be like, all right, you are really precise and really disciplined. I bet ballet would be really good for you. Oh, you really like this? Okay, let's see what else we can do. It's really fun. It's really cool.
Yeah, we kind of early on we made our kids do an activity. It had to be something. Like, we're not just going to sit at home all day. We're going to be somewhat active. My wife is a high school PE teacher.
Cool.
Like, so she is all about the fitness and everything. And so our kids did soccer and they didn't enjoy it. Like, we didn't see that light bulb go off. Yeah. We didn't see the joy in it. It was just kind of like they were just hanging out. Yeah. And so we did that for a year, moved on to something else. And so softball's kind of stuck for them. Two of the older ones play basketball as well. And it's just, they just like being involved. One of them did piano, and she said she wanted to take piano lessons, and we did it for like a year, and she would never practice other than like 30 minutes before the piano lesson. Yeah. And so then we finally got down to the gritty of it, that what is the reason why you want to do piano? I was like, well, I think that I want to be famous one day, and I think I want to be a musician. I was like, well, you're not. Your actions are saying something different because you're not practicing. You're not putting in the effort. We're just spending money on your piano teacher telling you need to practice more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't do piano anymore.
Yep. It's an interesting thing to figure out to communicate to your kids. It's like, this is what you want to become. There's actually a lot of work that goes into this. Like, you don't just skip ahead. You don't go from like, here's a C chord to then playing a full, like, or with a full orchestra on stage. You just don't make that jump. And to make a 5-year-old or 7-year-old understand that is really difficult.
But man, when they get it, like, with a 7-year-old, like, and it's only going to get better. Yeah. I've got with my 10-year-olds, like, the way they communicate, the way they can express their feelings, it's amazing.
Love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I still have the 19-month-old, not 18-month-old, at home who, like, the other two we've gotten to a place in which we can help them express themselves and say where their feelings are. And the 19-month-old is then they just straight up grab something, you take it away, and he screams at you as you go, no, man, this is a knife. You can't grab, like, what are you doing? I didn't know you could reach up this high on the counter. What's going on here? So it's interesting going between those two worlds of like, Holly, tell me exactly what you're feeling. Are you scared? Are you anxious? And then Josh, I'm just like, no, don't do that right now. Stop. You can't. Stop.
But everything is designed for them to learn where they're age appropriate to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like a 19-month-old doesn't need to know and have the deep conversation about how to express yourself better as much.
Dang it, they should. No, I'm joking.
You can have it. You just might get a little frustrated after a while.
It's got to be age appropriate though. The way they're going to talk about it, like, I can have an in-depth conversation with my 10-year-old. You can have an in-depth conversation with your 7-year-old.
Correct, yes.
That you can't have with the next one down, and they can't have with the next one down. Yep. Like, it's the way they're wired. It's the beauty of it. Yeah. Like, my kids are 10. They go to a public school here in town, and so they all have laptops. Mm-hmm. And one of the coolest things that I get to do as a dad is I get to respond to emails that my kids send me from their school issued laptop.
That's really cute.
Because they don't have a phone.
Yeah.
So they can't text me. Yeah. But that's what the conversations are like. They're like text messages. Yeah. So today at 9:30 this morning, I got an email from one of my daughters and said, "Can you please come have lunch with us today?"
Oh.
And I'm like, "Yep, I can. Like, I can clear my schedule. Yeah. I can make sure I'm there to have lunch at 11 a.m. with you guys." And it meant the world to them. Yeah. And like that, and I got an email at 2:00 this afternoon. "Thank you so much for coming to have lunch with us."
That's sweet.
And it's like, cool. Hey, when your kids get to that age, that's one way they can express themselves.
Yeah. So, quick question: at public schools, you can go to the school and have lunch with your kids?
You can. You have to sign in. Huh. In my kid's public school, like a parent can go twice a month.
Okay.
That is cool.
Mm-hmm. And so my kid, you can bring in food, any of that kind of stuff. And so and her email said, "Dad, I'd really love it if you could come have lunch with us today. If you can come, can you bring Taco Bell?" And I was like, I'm just winning at this at this point.
Like, you did parenting correct. That's what we learned here.
And you can bring your own
Bring your own Taco Bell.
Taco Bell, too. Man, things have changed since I was a kid. We could not do that, but it's awesome.
It's really just come back this year because of the pandemic stuff. You couldn't go into schools, but now you can. Cool. I try to I try to go more than I actually get to go. So it's really only about once a quarter I get to. And I have 2 twins that are in the exact same grade, and they have lunch at the same time. So I had lunch with both of them today.
Well.
I did not have lunch with my younger one because her lunch is an hour later.
Yeah.
So I'm like, their school's 20 minutes away from my office. I can't be gone for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't work.
Also, you shouldn't eat Taco Bell twice in one day for lunch.
Yeah.
Or in general.
Or you got to work out hard.
We would have rescheduled your interview if you had Taco Bell twice.
You'd have a food coma
We would.
on your couch.
Well, that's really cool to hear because, like, yeah, even with like a 19-month-old, like, what you spend most of your days doing is being like, am I doing what's best? Like, are we cool? Are we good? Is this actually what you need right now? And they can't really communicate because they don't have words. So, yeah, it's really exciting just to know that there's going to be an age in which they can look up and be like, can you come to lunch today? And you go, yeah, I'm coming right now.
Yeah, and I when I picked him up from school today, I made sure that I knew that the younger one, she's in 2nd grade, I knew she was going to find out that we had lunch, and she didn't get to have lunch today. So I just brought it up. I was like, hey, I want to let you know, I went and had lunch with your sisters today. I couldn't stay for that much longer, but I'm going to find another day to come have lunch with just you. And it's great.
My wife is really good at, if the kids ask for something and they can't have it that day, you don't just say no. You don't say, no, I didn't have lunch with you today. Say, hey, that's something I want to do. We should figure out when we can do that next. Because if all your kid hears you say is no, that's tension. That's conflict. But if you say, yeah, that's not able to happen today, can we do that like in 3 days from now? And then they feel included.
I caught myself because when my kids would ask me for something, I'd always say maybe.
Yeah.
And what my maybe was a no. It was a soft no.
Yep.
And so I had to catch myself and kind of, my wife helped me correct myself that, hey, you can't just always say maybe when you mean no.
Yeah.
Like, there's sometimes maybe you're going to have to say no.
Yeah.
Even though it's not going to feel as good. And then sometimes when you say maybe, because my kids asked me last week, can you come have lunch with us? And I was like, hey, I can't this week, but maybe next week. And I got to fulfill that today. And I got to walk into their school and eat $30 worth of Taco Bell with them.
Man. $30 at Taco Bell.
It's 3 of us.
It's 3 of it. It makes sense.
That used to be $9.
Back in
It
my
used to
day,
be so much cheaper.
It
It
so
did.
much cheaper. I went to Belmont, so I used to go to whenever West End, I think it was, used to have a Taco Bell in it. I feel like I ate Taco Bell like every other day because it'd be like 11 p.m. in a dorm, and people would be like, "Do you want to go to Taco Bell?" And I'd be like, "I don't not want to go to Taco Bell." So
That's a trick question.
It's a trick question. Why did you just say, Devin, go jump in this car? All right. Here we go.
It's funny with Taco Bell, like, my kids were all about McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and all those easy kid meals.
Yeah.
And in the last like 4 months, it's like Taco Bell is something they want to eat. So it's like last week, it was like 10 o'clock at night. We were driving home from something. We were driving by Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And they're like, Dad, can we go? And I'm like, it's 10 o'clock at
what are you
night.
guys
We have already
doing?
had dinner.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's open till 3 a.m. And I was like, that's great. I'm like, you don't understand why Taco Bell is open till 3 a.m.
No.
I think the late single digits, early teens, everybody goes through that phase of Taco Bell. And then there's a point where you realize what is in that Taco Bell.
Myself?
I went a couple years without having Taco Bell
Yeah.
until a couple months ago when my kids were like, I was out of town and my wife's like, yeah, I took them to Taco Bell. They love it. And I was like,
Huh?
okay.
You'd get mad if I went.
I know. So
But as far as restaurants go, you said that the Taco Bell's on West End. I don't know if
It's not there anymore.
It's
Yeah, I was
not.
going to
It's a
say,
hotel now. It's
I
a
don't
hotel
think
now.
any fast food restaurant is on West
Like
End
the
anymore.
Jack in the Box, the Taco Bell.
there's a Wendy's on West End.
Is there really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Right there across from
Like-
Bicentennial Park.
Yep.
Well, that'll be going
right
out
by
of,
Vandy.
out of business soon.
I don't
so
know.
they
That
can
guy,
put up
that guy and that J. Alexander's are just holding strong. I don't know how, but they're
That's
just-
right. I do
they're
remember.
holding
It is
By
on.
Vanderbilt?
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I do remember
One of these
that.
days, Vanderbilt's just going to buy it. Like,
They probably already own it.
they probably do.
Realistic. My brother went to Vandy in the early 2000s. I think that Wendy's is the only thing that is the same building within a mile radius.
It
of
has
there.
changed so
Yeah.
much.
Yes.
It's insane.
Oh, Rotiers.
Oh, I loved Rotiers, man.
What is that?
It was a burger place,
Their patty melt is the stuff
Yeah.
of legends.
it was kind of like it used to be a Logan's Roadhouse. Now it's a Martin's that's on is it Ellington? What's it? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like across the street from that. It was like in the back of a building, basically. It was just like a burger stand, a burger shop. You'd walk in, you could get like onion rings and fries and burgers.
Okay. Sounded like Talia Ho of Lexington then.
I hate
It
everything
was,
about
and it was
Lexington.
whatever.
It was a Nashville staple, and they just closed, I think, in 2021.
They did.
They kind of
Oh,
went
man.
away.
I think they technically still have a stand at Bridgestone. So if you go
You're
to
right.
Preds games, you can still get their food, but it is not the same as walking in and being transported back to the 70s. Like,
Yeah, I remember going there as a kid, and then I remember my mom was sick for a while, and so I used to always have to take her to Vanderbilt. And so I remember we would go to Rotiers either before or after a doctor appointment.
yeah.
That's
So-
awesome. Instead of us, we would go to the White Castle after my baseball practice.
Oh, my kids, they somehow read in some history lesson about White Castle and how White Castle supposedly was the first fast food restaurant.
Huh.
Which I
Sure.
was like, okay.
How do you
They're
prove
like,
that?
can we go to White Castle? And I'm like, you do not
You-
want to go
no
to
one
White
wants to go to
Castle.
White
There is
Castle.
nothing about White Castle.
It'll just
that you
seep
will
out
like.
of your pores for the next 2 months.
It's so funny. That is a tradition for me and my dad.
Is it really?
If we ever get together and there's a White Castle, we will try our best to go to
That's
it
cute.
and then feel miserable afterwards.
Yeah. I've actually never eaten White Castle. I've never
you
eaten
eaten
White
Crystal?
Castle. I've never eaten Crystal. I've avoided
White
both
Castle
of
is a
You-
North
success.
type.
You're
them. That's
living
why I'll
a
live
good
an
life.
extra 5 years.
Yeah, you probably will die of
yeah.
a heart attack or some type of coronary heart disease from that kind of
Yeah.
eating. But that's something that I need to start freaking working on is eating healthier because I feel like after 35, everything has slowed down for me. I've gained weight and having all of these problems.
What's healthy eating to you? What do you view as healthy eating?
Fruit and meat
Oh, you should. What about vegetables?
and vegetables as
I mean-
well. But I am one of those people that will just eat sweets for days and then carbs.
Yeah.
Carbs specifically in bread form, just actual bread. I'll eat it like crazy.
It's because it's
I'm,
delicious.
But I am gaining so much weight. It's insane.
It's all downhill.
It's all down.
That's what I feel like.
I'm over 40. It
Yeah.
just keeps going.
But you can still eat Taco Bell apparently
Yep.
whenever you're in your 40s.
Yeah, and then feel miserable
Well, we
later.
don't. He seems happy. He seems fine.
That is
you know?
true.
He's not having a bad day.
We've had tacos twice today, so
Oh
that's
my
just
gosh.
because they wanted tacos for dinner. So
my gosh.
that's what I made tonight. So
That's funny.
Did you hear that La Hacienda is?
I did. La Hacienda's closing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one on Nolensville
Yeah.
that Barack Obama had gone to
In like
that
2014.
in
Yep.
2014. It's one of our favorites because
Yeah.
it's just down the street. But man,
it's been around forever.
Like
That's
30
what I
years,
heard.
I think. Like 92
Mhm.
is when it opened. Yeah. Do you, whenever you cook dinner for your kids, do you cook a dinner for you and your wife and then a dinner for your kids, or do you do just one meal usually?
We have transitioned to just one meal
Okay.
because kids can be picky, and so
Yes.
when they were younger, I honestly didn't want to fight with them.
Yeah.
And so I would cook something separate for the wife and I. But now we've transitioned enough that there's one that's still a little picky.
Yeah.
But we find something. She's going to find something to eat that we are going to want. And we don't go too adventurous with the
Okay.
meals, especially with busy schedules and things like that.
Yeah.
She used to not like eat any meat that wasn't like a chicken nugget.
yeah.
And so we went through a couple year stage for her where that was pretty much it. Like macaroni and cheese, Kraft out of the box,
Yep.
and chicken nuggets was all she ate. But now we're to the point like she put down like 6 tacos tonight.
Oh, nice.
And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't care that you don't put lettuce on there. That's
Yeah.
fine. Like meat, cheese,
That's next year. Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah.
Like we found a way. She's like, I like these specific street taco, smaller
Oh, yeah.
tortillas. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's great.
That's fine. You're
I'm like,
eating it.
I'll make
Cool.
sure
Cool.
we buy that. Like, let's go for that. The other ones will put tomatoes and avocado and all the rest of the stuff on there. But I'm like, hey, you're eating, you're healthy. That's all I care about.
I think tonight for dinner I made the girls mini corn dogs and chicken nuggets and cucumbers and like cheese cubes. And then for my wife and I made salmon and like Momofuku is one of my favorite
Yeah.
restaurants. I did their noodles, like their hot soy noodles
Yeah.
and a sweet potato. So the difference between the quality of those two meals, pretty obvious. But trying to get my kids to eat something that doesn't involve ketchup is it's just some days you're like, I'm good. I don't
Yeah.
want, like, I'm
It
good.
gets better.
It
It gets
does.
easier.
Yep.
We used to, my wife and I sometimes, we call it like late night date night.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll have dinner at 9:00 at night
Yeah.
after we put the kids to bed. And then I'll cook a more
Yeah.
established meal, something like
intentional
that.
meal.
Like it might be steak and potatoes and a couple different vegetables and salads, and we'll just sit down and have a conversation without little kids interrupting us nonstop.
Yep. No matter what time we do bedtime, at least one kid always comes down no matter what. And like, they just want to be with you. So you can't like get mad. But I feel like by the third or fourth night, I'm like, all right, I'm going to set a timer on my phone. When it goes off, seriously, you really need to go to bed. It's really past your bedtime.
Yeah, we have one that needs one of us to sit in the room for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
And so there's a chair in the corner. And honestly, it's funny. My wife and I, sometimes we fight over who gets to be that person.
Oh, yeah?
Because I'll put my AirPods in and I'll sit in
there.
the corner and I'll just like be on Instagram or just being like,
just chilling,
just relaxing.
Yeah.
And it's not a matter if she's going to talk to us or anything. It's just a matter of she's like, hey, can one of you sit in my room for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And so until she goes to sleep, and then we check on out.
That's sweet.
What do you do for Joshua?
He's at this beautiful, beautiful age in which we change him, put him into pajamas, and then we sing him like one song and put him in his pack and play with a stuffed animal. And then we come back in like 10 hours.
Oh,
Man.
that's a dream.
It is the dream. It is what he always has this process of. We give him 2 to 3 stuffed animals, and then we watch them on the monitor, take them systematically and just throw them out of the pack and play, and then lay down and go to sleep. As if he's there and he's like, hi, I'm a monkey. I'm a little doggy. I'm a monkey. I'm a doggy. Good night. Good night. And
Does he keep any?
What's that?
Does he keep any?
He keeps he throws all of them out, no matter what we've been in. So I don't know, like whenever we go to put him in, he reaches for him and goes, and we're like, say please. And he goes, he's rubbing my shirt for the please sign language. And then we put him in there with him, and then he's just like, night, night. And then we put him down, and that's what he does every single time, for every time he goes to sleep. Throws them out systematically. We haven't figured out the pattern yet for which one he throws out first, because the stuffed animals change every time. And then he just lays down and goes to sleep. And then we come back at like 6 a.m. So from like 7:30 until 6 a.m., he just goes to sleep, and that's it. It's third kid. First of all, third kid.
Yeah. That sounds like a dream.
Holly was like, we had to put her in a swaddle. We had to rock her. We had to have a white noise machine on.
Yeah.
She's the one who's the hardest one to get to sleep. Magnolia, we got to a phase like that also where we could get her just to lay down and go to sleep.
That's the phase that Ada's always been in, is we have to rock her.
Yeah.
So like we give her a bath every other day, and then we put her in her pajamas, put her in, we call it a sleep sack.
Yeah, sleep sack, yeah.
And then we read 2 to 3 books, and then turn off the lights and just rock her. And we're slowly trying to transition her from falling asleep in our arms to rocking her, but then putting her back in her crib and letting her fall asleep. It has been very hard and very difficult.
I feel like I've heard different perceptions of that. Like, do you want to put your kid in their crib or whatever whenever they've already fallen asleep, or is it better to put them in there for them to put themselves to sleep? But if your kid screams for 2 hours,
Yeah.
you just kind of made the decision for you
Yep.
which one you do.
I mean, we obviously have just been rocking her.
Yeah.
And she's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Because before, if she was not asleep, she would just scream out and like bloody murder. So transitioning from that, I'm hoping that we can get to that point of putting her in her crib
Saying,
and
bye-bye.
then saying bye, see you later.
Yep.
But
I told parents that if you can keep your kid alive for the first 2 years, it's
man.
great.
Yep.
Like
Pretty
you
much.
do
Yep.
whatever you need to do.
Yep.
Like when we had twins, our kids,
Oh my gosh.
they slept in our room in swings for the first 9 months of their life
wow.
because someone had bought us these swings.
Yeah.
And so we found, instead of having to rock them, like we would, when we were time to put them down, they were in their sleep sacks, and we put them in the swing, and we turned the power on, and we let that bad boy swing back and forth. And for seriously, the first 9 months of their life, that is the only place they slept.
Hey,
Yep.
whatever you got to do.
I mean, so much of parenting is like, why are you doing this? It worked last time, and I
Yep.
don't think it's hurting anyone.
Yep.
So unless someone tells me this might hurt them, I'm going to keep doing this.
Not one single kid is the same though.
No.
That's what
No.
They all have their intricacies at every aspect. It's
I think I told you all of the comfort techniques that worked on Holly, my oldest. My middle child, Magnolia, despised. So she's like a month old, and I'm like, but you want to be swaddled and in like and white noise and stuff. And then I'd lay her down after I fought with her, and she'd just lay down like this and go to sleep. And I'd be like, oh, I'm the problem.
yeah.
I'm the one who's reading this room wrong. All right, thank you. I'll go deal with my shame in the other room and come back later. Thank you.
We play like meditation music for our kids.
Oh, okay.
Just like if it's soft piano type
Yeah.
music or something like that. We have kind of a little bit of a smart-ish home. So we have an Alexa in each room.
Yeah.
And so it's like I have them
See,
all
Haley, I have the same thing, and she gives me grief all the
we
time.
have them all grouped together. So
Yeah.
we have 7 in the house. and they're all grouped together. And so when it's time to go to bed, I ask her to play 20 minutes of meditation music everywhere.
Nice.
And it plays it in every single room in the house.
Cool.
And it's different every single night. And they kind of know, the older two, like, they want to read before bed. Okay, that's great. When Alexa stops playing, you're going to put your book down and go to sleep.
Yep.
And they do it. And the younger one, it just really helps kind of center her and just kind of relax her and kind of slow everything down.
Is it calm music or is it like a guided meditation?
It's calm music.
Okay,
just,
cool.
Honestly,
yeah.
Alexa gets to pick what it is. There's only certain
Alexa
times.
is your DJ.
Yeah. Like, I thought about trying to create like a playlist and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but I was like, you know what? Like, it's just so easy. Like, there's times that we have to skip a song kind of thing because I'm like, that's a little more upbeat than I wanted it to be. But it is just instrumental music, and it really just kind of chills my kids out. And
That's cool.
some nights it's 20 minutes. Some nights it's like, hey, guys, we only got 10 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
And we go from there. But we also, in the morning, I get all three of my kids ready for school. My wife is out of the house 45 minutes before I wake up because she has to be out earlier.
Yeah.
And so it's my job to get them up. So I use Alexa to my advantage there, and I created a playlist. And so when I get out of bed, when I'm ready to start getting them going, about 6:20 in the morning, it's, hey, Alexa, play this playlist everywhere.
Cool.
And so it starts playing music in each of their rooms, in the living room, in the kitchen, and then we get to start going. And we change up the playlist because they'll ask for other songs to be put on there, or we have a couple different playlists. So they'll be like, hey, tomorrow, can you play this playlist instead? It's great. It kind of like starts them off the right way.
What music do your kids listen to right now? I'm terrified of whatever music my kids will like whenever they're 10 and 8.
Here's the thing. Your kids will listen to whatever you allow them to listen to.
That's true. I do have a say in it to some extent. So
Mostly at 10 and 8, you have every bit of say
cool.
to it.
Yeah.
Like my kids have like Kindles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We put those parental controls on there. They don't get to listen to things that are anything. My kids listen to Kids Bop.
Yeah, my kids
I'm kind
already
of
love
more
Kids
okay
Bops.
with Kids Bop because
What is Kids Bop?
so they take
yeah.
popular songs that you would hear on the radio that might have some questionable lyrics in it, and they make them kid friendly.
Yeah.
And this is a radio station, or
No, it's like
They used to sell CDs.
it used to be
They used to
CDs.
sell CDs.
You'd be watching some cable channel at like 11 p.m. at night.
Yep.
And be like, Kids Bop 5, here it is. And it'd be like in sync covers with little children singing it.
Yeah, and it's kids singing.
Yes.
So
Okay.
and so but it's every popular song you could
It's like
possibly
top
think
40.
of.
It's like
Yes.
top 40.
Oh, okay.
Like
I
kid
know
covers,
those.
yeah.
Okay.
So they like that, and we're okay with that.
Yeah. They're
Um,
always safe.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
kid, but like my kids, like one of them asked tonight, "Can you wake us up with the Hamilton soundtrack tomorrow?" I'm like, "Okay."
Sure.
I'm like, "Sure." I'm like, and the older two, anytime there's a curse word, they will like cough really loud to try to hide it from the
awesome.
8-year-old.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and she's like, "I know what they said." And so it's like, okay, so
That's fine.
sometimes you want to listen to Hamilton, sometimes you want to listen to Kids Bop, sometimes it's like CCM kind of Christian music. It's whatever we are just kind of feeling what it is.
Yeah.
About 6 months into to having Ada, I would try my best whenever she would wake up. I've got Alexas in almost every single one of my rooms as well, but to play like calming music, turn on that light, because I also have a light where I can Alexa can turn it on, but where it's kind of dim, and then just open up the door and say good morning, and to have that peaceful,
you're
but
trying
yet
to create a moment
yes.
every morning.
Yeah, and I loved it. She loved it
That's
too.
sweet. I collect vinyl. I have a lot of them. And Phonolux, which is right next to La Hacienda, sells like kid records. Like they have the old school kid records. Like so, I'll go in there with my kids sometimes and be like, "All right, you both can get one children's album while I go look at other stuff." So like the other day we got like I called it the Julie Andrews special because one side was The Sound of Music and the other side was Mary Poppins.
Okay.
So that's what we'll do at home, especially during the summer when I'm at home with like all three of them. Is like, okay, for my sanity, I choose one album, you choose one album. I choose one album, you choose one album, and it's pretty fun to do.
Yeah, we my wife will listen to like country music or different music when we're cleaning or doing dishes or things like that, and so the kids like that kind of stuff too.
Yeah,
and the older two definitely they know more of the popular music now, so they'll ask Alexa to play different things. The only thing is if Alexa's streaming in a couple rooms, they can't stream 5 different songs in different devices, and so there is sometimes that they fight over which room is playing.
Oh my gosh, it's the dial-up connection, but for Alexa.
Well, it's similar,
Get off
but
the
it's
phone!
I think it's the Amazon Music subscription
I think so,
that'll
too.
only let certain music. You can only play certain things at certain
Yes,
times.
that's funny.
Dial up. No one knows what dial up is anymore.
No, they don't. Well, maybe they do. We'll find out. If you listen to this episode and you know what
Yeah. Then you're old.
then you are in your mid-30s probably, at minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the last people that remember it is mid-30s at
Probably,
this point.
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I would think.
I remember getting that AOL CD in the mail
Oh,
and being
man.
like, 4 free hours? Sweet. Heck yeah.
So how we end our episodes is we started doing like 5 icebreakers.
Not silly, not really in-depth questions, but ones that will make you think a little bit. So, first one, what were your kids' backup names, if you had any?
Okay. So my wife is a school teacher, so we had this big long list of names that we could not name
Yeah,
our
that
kids
changes things.
because she remembered a kid that was bad with that name.
Yep.
So my twins, so my oldest twin, her name is Copeland.
Yeah.
And her middle name is Rooney. And so we were originally going to name the two kids, twins, Copeland and Rooney. And then a month before they were born, we said, okay, we didn't prefer that. So we named her Copeland Rooney. And then we came up with another name, which is our other twin is Greer Blakely.
Okay.
We wanted unique names. We wanted names that were not that common. We wanted names that were not going to get that mispronounced or misspelled that often. We liked the name Kennedy. We liked the name. My wife probably still has a notes on her phone with all these names. And there's no family name to it or anything like that. My next daughter, I've only ever had daughters, so we've only ever had girl names. My youngest daughter, her name is McCall Gray.
McCall Gray.
And her middle name Gray. We have someone that my wife grew up with that her middle name is Gray.
Yeah.
So we like.
And McCall is a very unique name. I only know one other McCall that I've ever met.
Yeah, it's funny. Copeland, so our oldest one, our pediatrician has named her daughter Copeland after our daughter because she was like, I've never heard that name before.
Yeah,
I've heard it as a last name. But
yeah, my wife's name's Christina. My name's Jeremy. Those are somewhat common names for people born in the early 80s. And so we didn't want their names to be that common.
Yeah.
Like Greer, like my second daughter, I don't know of anybody else. I think I've met one other girl named Greer.
Yeah.
So.
Did you ever take her to the old Sound Stadium? Wasn't that called Greer?
It is. I do have a
Stadium.
picture of her at Greer Stadium.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Named after her. That's so good.
That's exactly what she thinks. So.
Sounds about right.
But I don't remember any other backup names.
Yeah.
We had to vote off a lot of names.
Okay, yeah. You more have a list of names you would have never chosen as opposed to potential names. If you would have had sons, did you have a name?
No, we didn't really start with the whole names thing until we found out we were having daughters.
Cool.
And then
eliminated all the boy names.
Yeah, it was real easy.
That's cool. Do you have a favorite TV dad?
I loved, growing up, this is going to date me here, I loved The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
You're the second person. We've had someone else say Uncle Phil also.
Uncle Phil, as an uncle.
Yeah.
But he was also a dad to people in there.
Yeah.
But also, he was a father figure to Will.
Yeah.
And he was that guy that I kind of talked about earlier. Some people need that extra person in their life to kind of kick them in the rear when they're doing something wrong. But man, even just thinking about like episodes of that, like there's the episode where Will is like gonna go talk to I'm gonna go see my dad, and it's this big thing that his dad like cancels on him at the last minute, and it's this identity moment of in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That it's like, man, like you're enough. And it's Uncle Phil speaking those words over him. So he was really, really good. I love that as a TV dad.
Yeah.
That's always a good answer. Do you have a TV show, movie that you just cannot stand, past or present?
That your kids put on.
That my kids put on?
Yeah, not you specifically. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, I got a lot for both of those.
There's your list. Your wife had the no name list. You have the no TV list.
Yeah.
Like the Baby Shark. Oh my gosh. I've heard that from so many people.
Thankfully, my kids were a little older when that came out, so we didn't have to deal with that as much. I wasn't a big fan of Paw Patrol.
Oh, yeah.
It just kind of like grated at me. We didn't ever do like Blue's Clues or any of that kind of stuff. We just kind of guided them away from that. So I would probably say like Paw Patrol was just like my kids would want to watch that nonstop.
Yeah.
It's like
I just can't.
painfully formulaic.
Oh, they know exactly what they're doing.
They know exactly what they're doing, and you're like, oh, this is so boring. Please make it stop.
Yeah, I mastered the ability of sitting in the room with them while they were watching the TV and having no idea what was going on. So
my wife does that, but they always ask us questions later. So I want to be able to answer their questions. So I vaguely pay attention to them while they play Sudoku, realistically. That way, whenever they're like, guys, what did Rubble say in the last episode? Oh, he said Rubble on the double. Oh, it worked. Okay, cool. That was the answer. Cool.
yeah, it's just not great. Like I actually like Bluey.
Yeah,
Bluey is
definitely
is fun. Like the accents of it,
Yes.
like what the messages that they talk
The
about.
dad
Yeah.
is heavily involved.
Yes.
And to be able to stay within character.
Yeah, man. Whenever he plays
That's
games.
a dad to look
Yep.
up to.
Yeah, one of the films I'm working on, we were casting. It's going to come out next year, but we were casting, and we were casting the mom that plays Bluey in the movie.
Oh, Melanie Zanetti, yeah.
At the last minute, we had to change things up just due to like COVID restrictions and stuff like that. But it was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to tell my kids that I met
Yeah.
the
Met
mom
Chili.
from Bluey.
Yes.
That would be so cool.
I also feel like I grew up reading a lot of Calvin and Hobbes.
Okay.
I feel like Bluey has a ton of like Calvin and
Yeah.
Hobbes notes to it, where it's like very imaginative. You create worlds, you get lost in this world. But it's Bluey's so much more special because the parents get involved with it.
Yeah.
Or like in Calvin and Hobbes, the parents are just like, Calvin, what are you doing? Which,
My kids play Family. Like that is a game they play
Aw.
at 10 and 8
Yeah.
because it's in Bluey.
Yes.
So yeah, I love that.
we went on a walk last night and the girls played Shadowlands.
Yeah.
And then we haven't watched that episode in like a year. But they were just like, no, we're playing Shadowlands. And I'm like, so you're going to sprint for the next 20 minutes outside before we go to bed? Yeah, I'm for it. This is
I'm in.
Will that tire you out? And
No.
hopefully,
And there's
No.
always that level of like, are you tired or are you exhausted? There's like the line between you're tired and you're going to scream yourself to sleep because you're too tired. It's a very thin line, Justin,
okay.
for me too. Anyway, do you have a favorite kid's toy? Like whenever your kids start to play with a toy, you actually want to play it with them? Pretty Princess, I'm sure, since you have so many.
The amount of stuffed animals and dolls we have
Oof.
is, it's absolutely crazy. Probably the favorite kids toy I have to play with my kids. They had these, and it's funny that I say I hated the show, but they had these remote control Paw Patrol cars that were just like fun.
Yeah.
Like those 2-button cars that
Yeah,
and it,
Forward,
when it,
backwards,
yeah,
side to side.
that was pretty much it. Those were so much fun. Nowadays, they don't really play with. Oh, right now, the favorite kids toy we have is we have one of those Papa Shot basketballs in our bonus room.
Oh,
Pop
yeah.
a shot.
That
What
was-
is that?
So those 2 basketball goals where
Yeah.
you're going
Playing
against someone
Like in
else.
an arcade.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
It's like an arcade type game.
Yeah, I'm coming over after this episode. We'll see who wins.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it because I can put like 100 points up on that
Can
thing.
you?
And my
Heck
daughter,
yeah.
my oldest daughter, the one I told you is hyper competitive.
Yeah.
Like she's like getting to the point that she can get to like 80.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's you're huffing to get there in
Yeah.
3 minutes.
So where do you find one of these?
My wife found it on Facebook Marketplace, man.
Oh,
And
that
it
sounds
was
like
a
a Facebook
It
marketplace.
was a Christmas gift a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And so there is like daily that the girls are like, "Hey, you want to play basketball?" I'm like, "Absolutely."
do it.
I'm like, "I'm never going to let you win." Like you can if you beat me, that's
Then you
great.
beat me.
I
There will
will
be a
celebrate
day.
that, but I'm never going to let up on you.
You've got like you've got like a sweatband hanging on a hook. You're just like, all right, let's do this. I'm ready.
That's awesome. All right. Last question. What moment of your kid's life are you most excited to be a part of? Now or in the past, were you excited?
I am both excited and terrified to be involved in my daughter's weddings.
Oh, I think
As
that's a first.
as a dad, it's if you ask my wife, they got to be 30 years old and all that kind of stuff. But to get to that moment where they get to stand across from a man that they have chosen and has chosen them,
Yeah.
man, like as a moment, it is just something that I think I'm gonna want to I take in.
Yeah.
When I go to weddings now, I don't look at the bride; I look at the groom.
Sure.
Like I was at my cousin, he got married a couple weeks ago. I didn't look at the bride at all. I looked at the groom. Like when everybody's turning to look at the bride, what is that guy saying?
Yeah.
What is his face saying?
What's he communicating right now?
Because there's a lot you can tell by how they relate to each other, by how that moment happens.
Yeah.
And so I can't wait to get to see that groom as I'm walking my daughter down the aisle.
Yeah.
Like, this is someone that's going to be involved in my life and my daughter's life and her sister's lives for a very long time. So has she done a good job of picking that person well? Have I prepared her to understand what are the qualities you want to look for in a man? I'm looking forward to that, but I'm also terrified because it's my little girl. Like, what's gonna happen? What's it gonna be?
You are no longer the man in her life.
But that's the way it's created to be.
Yeah.
But that's just.
Yeah.
But that's a hard thing to relinquish, I think.
It's like running a marathon and finishing only to tag them to run another marathon.
Yeah.
That for that point, my wife and I have finished that portion of our race.
Yeah.
And we get to cheer them on for the next portion of their race.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait for that.
Yeah. That's really cool. Well, if people want to like follow you on social media and stuff, like what's the best way to find you? Do you want to promote like the Everyday Dad podcast? Do you want to promote your own Instagram?
You can follow the podcast is the Everyday Dad podcast at Everyday Dad Pod on Instagram. We've got a Facebook page. We are on every single podcast thing out there, Amazon, Spotify, Apple, all of those. If you want to follow me, I'm at Jeremy Carlson on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
I think Instagram, I'm at Jeremy Carlson 21. It's follow me. You're going to see a lot of coaching my kids softball.
Cute.
You're going to see a lot of trying to be there to cheer them on with everything.
Yeah.
Talk about food. I love food.
Oh, yeah.
I love cooking.
Yeah.
I love smoking meats. I love doing all of that.
It's really nice to meet up with someone else also doing a dad podcast and just value being a dad. So thanks for sharing your time with us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks again for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Nashville Dads and to subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify podcast. We record at New Light Podcast Studio and episodes are produced by me, Devin.